Hello everyone, welcome back to New Black's Ghana. Today we will talk about 12 interesting and important facts about African Americans. Number 1. First free black settlement in the U.S. Long before the Civil War, and even before the United States existed, a determined group of men and women carved out a place where freedom was more than a dream. In 1738, Fort Mose was established in Spanish Florida, becoming the first legally recognized free black settlement in what is now the U.S. At a time when slavery was the law in the British colonies, Fort Mose stood as a beacon of hope. Its residents were formerly enslaved people who had fled the British Carolinas, enduring swamps, alligators, and slave catchers to reach Spanish-controlled Florida. The Spanish crown made them an offer: swear loyalty to Spain, convert to Catholicism, and serve in the military, and they would be free. It was an opportunity worth seizing, and they built a thriving community. Fort Mose wasn't just a place to escape slavery. It was a self-sufficient town with homes, farms, a government, and a strong militia. Led by Francisco Menendez, a formerly enslaved man turned military leader, the settlement became a key defense for Spanish Florida. The people worked the land, traded with nearby St. Augustine, and defended their freedom. In 1740, when British forces attacked, the Fort Mose militia fought back, successfully helping drive the invaders out. Though their town was destroyed in the battle, their resilience was undeniable. The Spanish rebuilt it, and the settlement continued, proving that freed black people could govern and sustain themselves. Despite its success, Fort Mose's fate was tied to shifting colonial power. In 1763, Spain ceded Florida to Britain, and the residents knew what that meant. Slavery would return. Rather than risk being re-enslaved, most fled with the Spanish to Cuba, abandoning the land they had fought to protect. Though the settlement was no more, its impact was lasting. It stood for over 2 decades as proof that black autonomy was possible, even in an era when slavery seemed unshakable. Today, Fort Mose is a National Historic Landmark, and archaeologists have uncovered remnants of its past, telling the stories of those who built it. Though it never grew into a major city, its significance is immeasurable. It set a precedent for black self-determination long before the Underground Railroad or the Civil War. Fort Mose wasn't just a place, it was a statement. Freedom wasn't given, it was taken, protected, and lived. Number 2. The first known African in America. Long before slavery became the brutal foundation of the Americas, Juan Garrido arrived as a free man, stepping into history as the first recorded African in the New World. Born in West Africa in the late 1400s, Garrido's early life remains largely a mystery. But his path led him to Spain, where he joined Spanish explorers eager to claim land across the Atlantic. Unlike the millions of Africans who would later arrive in chains, Garrido crossed the ocean by choice, seeking fortune and adventure. By the early 1500s, he had traveled through the Caribbean and became part of the Spanish expeditions exploring Florida and Mexico, making him the first known African to set foot in what is now the United States. His journey was extraordinary for its time. He was neither enslaved nor a servant, but a soldier and explorer carving out a place for himself in a rapidly changing world. Garrido's most famous role came during the conquest of the Aztec Empire alongside Hernán Cortés in 1519. He fought in the brutal siege of Tenochtitlan, where the Spanish, with the help of indigenous allies, defeated the mighty Aztecs. As a reward for his service, he received land near Mexico City, an uncommon privilege for a black man in the colonial period. But his impact extended beyond warfare. He became the first person to cultivate wheat in the Americas. This small but significant agricultural milestone changed European diets in the New World and contributed to the future of farming in the region. Though not as widely recognized as his military exploits, Garrido's role in introducing wheat shows how individuals like him helped shape the economic and agricultural foundations of the colonies. Despite settling in Mexico City and building a life, Garrido remained tied to Spanish military campaigns, including expeditions searching for gold in present-day California. He married, had children, and lived a relatively stable life for a black man in Spanish America. Though records of his death are unclear, He lived long enough to see his legacy take root in a world that would soon change drastically with the expansion of slavery. Juan Garrido's story is unique, a rare glimpse into the life of a free African in the early Americas. His footsteps in Florida, Mexico, and beyond marked the beginning of a complex Black presence in the Americas, one that would grow in tragic and transformative ways. Number 3. Madam C.J. Walker, first female self-made millionaire. Madam C.J. Walker's journey from poverty to becoming America's first self-made female millionaire is a testament to resilience and ingenuity. Born Sarah Breedlove in 1867 to formerly enslaved parents in Louisiana, she faced hardship early, losing her parents by age 7 and working as a washerwoman to support herself. Struggling with scalp issues, she experimented with hair care remedies and later learned from entrepreneur Annie Turnbow Malone. Walker developed her own formula, the Walker Method, which promoted scalp health and hair growth. This breakthrough laid the foundation for a multi-million-dollar empire that transformed the beauty industry for Black women. Determined to grow her business, Walker traveled across the country demonstrating her products and training women to become sales agents. In 1908, she established a beauty school in Pittsburgh and later moved her headquarters to Indianapolis, where she built a factory and created thousands of jobs for Black women. Her Walker agents became symbols of economic independence, not only selling products but uplifting their communities. Through her business, she empowered Black women to achieve financial success at a time when opportunities were scarce. Walker's success was matched by her dedication to philanthropy and civil rights. She funded scholarships, supported Black colleges, and donated to organizations like the NAACP and the National Association of Colored Women. In 1917, she hosted a national convention for her agents, encouraging them to engage in social and political activism. She believed true progress was not just about wealth, but about using it to uplift others. Her efforts helped pave the way for future generations of Black entrepreneurs and activists. By the time of her passing in 1919 at age 51, Madam C.J. Walker had built more than a beauty empire. She had created a movement. Her grand estate, Villa Lawaro, stood as a symbol of her success and served as a gathering place for Black leaders. But her greatest legacy was the empowerment of Black women through business and economic independence. Today, she remains an inspiration, proving that determination, innovation, and self-belief can overcome even the greatest obstacles. Number 4. Black Wall Street, 1921. In the early 20th century, Tulsa's Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, stood as a beacon of Black prosperity and self-sufficiency. Built by Black entrepreneurs and professionals,
From 1865 to 1920, African Americans created more than 50 towns and settlements, one on the north side of Tulsa. Successful farms, shops, and oil wealth created the need for a place to bank, trade, and enjoy their hard-earned money. Greenwood stretches from Pine Street to the north, Archer Street and the Frisco Tracks to the south, Cincinnati Street on the west, and Lansing Street to the east. Within those confines, Black entrepreneurs started every imaginable business. Newspapers, hotels, theaters, dentists, attorneys, and over 30 grocery stores.
It became one of the wealthiest Black communities in America, thriving despite segregation. The district boasted Black-owned banks, grocery stores, restaurants, theaters, hospitals, and schools, creating a self-sustaining economy where wealth circulated within the community. Lawyers, doctors, and business owners flourished, proving that Black success was possible even in a racially oppressive society. More than just an economic hub, Black Wall Street was a symbol of independence, ambition, and resilience in the face of systemic racism. This prosperity came to a tragic end in one of the worst racial massacres in American history. On May 31, 1921, a young Black man, Dick Rowland, was falsely accused of assaulting a white woman in an elevator. A white mob gathered, demanding his lynching, and when Black residents came to protect him, tensions exploded into full-scale violence. Over 18 hours, white rioters, aided by law enforcement and private planes dropping firebombs, burned Greenwood to the ground. More than 1,000 black-owned businesses and homes were destroyed, and hundreds of black residents were killed or left homeless. What had been a thriving, prosperous community was reduced to ashes, erasing decades of black economic progress in a single day. This is one of the complete acts of evil perpetrated against black people around the world. Despite this devastation, the survivors of Greenwood refused to give up. Insurance companies denied claims, and city officials blocked rebuilding efforts, but the community's determination endured. Many residents rebuilt their businesses and homes from the ground up, and by the late 1920s, Greenwood experienced a resurgence. Though it never fully regained its pre-massacre wealth, it remained a symbol of black resilience. For decades, the massacre was erased from history books, but today, efforts to honor the victims and seek justice have gained momentum. Calls for reparations, memorials, and economic empowerment initiatives aim to restore the legacy of Black Wall Street. The tragedy of 1921 cannot be undone, but the strength and ambition of Greenwood's residents continue to inspire the fight for racial and economic justice. Their legacy is a reminder that black excellence and resilience can withstand even the most violent attempts to suppress them. Number 5. The first African-American senator. Hiram Rhodes Revels made history in 1870 as the first African-American to serve in the United States Congress, a remarkable achievement in a nation still struggling with the aftermath of the Civil War. Born free in 1827 in North Carolina, Revels defied the odds by obtaining an education at a time when most black Americans were denied such opportunities. He became a minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Church and worked tirelessly to educate freed black people, serving as a preacher and teacher in several states. During the Civil War, he supported the Union Army by helping recruit black soldiers and working as a chaplain, reinforcing his commitment to advancing the rights of African Americans in a country still deeply divided by race. Revels's political rise came during Reconstruction, when Southern states were forced to recognize the rights of formerly enslaved people. He settled in Mississippi and quickly gained respect as a leader, known for his intelligence and ability to unite black and white communities. In 1869, the Mississippi State Legislature elected him to the U.S. Senate, filling a seat once held by Jefferson Davis, the former president of the Confederacy. His presence in the Senate was symbolic, proving that African Americans could participate in government and help shape national policies. While in office, he advocated for racial equality, fighting for the rights of black workers and urging amnesty for former Confederates who showed loyalty to the Union. Despite his historic role, Revels served only 1 year in the Senate, as his term ended in 1871. After leaving Congress, he continued his work in education, becoming the president of Alcorn State University, the first historically black land-grant college in the U.S. He remained committed to uplifting black communities through education and political involvement. His legacy demonstrated that African Americans could lead at the highest levels of government, inspiring future black politicians. At a time when many sought to suppress black political power, Revels's service proved that change was possible. His contributions laid the foundation for future generations, showing that African Americans had a rightful place in American politics. Number 6. Frederick Douglass and the North Star. Born into slavery in 1818, Frederick Douglass defied the odds to become one of the most influential voices in American history. Denied an education, he secretly taught himself to read and write, recognizing that knowledge was the key to freedom. After escaping slavery in 1838, he quickly rose as a powerful orator, captivating audiences with his first-hand accounts of the horrors of enslavement. His autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, published in 1845, exposed the brutality of slavery to a global audience and solidified his place in the abolitionist movement. Douglass believed that black people had to be active participants in their liberation, using education and the press as tools to fight oppression. In 1847, determined to amplify the voices of the enslaved and advocate for equal rights, Douglass founded the North Star, an abolitionist newspaper published in Rochester, New York. The newspaper's motto, "Right is of no sex, truth is of no color, God is the Father of us all, and we are all brethren," reflected Douglass's commitment to both racial justice and gender equality. The North Star became a crucial platform for the abolitionist movement, challenging pro-slavery narratives and advocating for the rights of African Americans and women. Beyond his work as a journalist, Douglass became an advisor to President Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, urging him to allow black soldiers to fight for the Union and to make abolition a central war aim. His influence helped shape policies that led to the Emancipation Proclamation and the eventual passage of the 13th Amendment. His belief in universal equality made him one of the most progressive thinkers of his time, bridging the fight for racial justice with broader struggles for human rights. Even after the Civil War, Douglass remained a fierce advocate for justice, fighting against segregation, voter suppression, and racial violence. His legacy as a writer, speaker, and activist continues to inspire generations seeking equality and justice. The North Star laid the foundation for future black-owned newspapers and proved the power of the press in shaping social change. Douglass's life was a testament to the power of education, perseverance, and the belief that all people deserve freedom and dignity. Number 7. Buffalo Soldiers, Black Military Heroes. After the Civil War, African American soldiers who had fought for the Union were organized into the first all-black regiments of the U.S. Army, known as the Buffalo Soldiers. Established in 1866, these regiments, primarily the 9th and 10th Cavalry and the 24th and 25th Infantry, were tasked with protecting settlers, building infrastructure, and maintaining order in the western frontier. Native Americans are believed to have given them the name Buffalo Soldiers, either out of respect for their resilience in battle or due to their dark, curly hair resembling a buffalo's coat. The Buffalo Soldiers played a critical role in the Indian Wars, engaging in fierce battles against various Native American tribes as the U.S. government expanded westward. Though they were enforcing policies that displaced indigenous peoples, they had little choice but to serve in the only military roles available to black men at the time. Their duties extended beyond combat. They also built roads, guarded mail routes, and protected national parks. In 1898, they fought with distinction in the Spanish-American War, particularly in Cuba, where they charged alongside Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders in the Battle of San Juan Hill. Their bravery in these battles earned them widespread recognition, and several received the Medal of Honor. Despite their service, Buffalo Soldiers faced racism within the military and society at large. They were often stationed in remote outposts with poor living conditions, and white officers frequently doubted their abilities. Yet they continued to serve with distinction, fighting in conflicts such as World War I, where they provided crucial support in Europe. Even as the military remained segregated, their contributions helped pave the way for future generations of black service members. Their legacy as trailblazers in the U.S. Army remains a powerful testament to resilience and dedication. The Buffalo Soldiers' impact extended beyond their military service, influencing civil rights and the fight for racial equality. Their bravery challenged the widespread belief that African Americans were unfit for combat, setting the stage for the eventual desegregation of the armed forces. Today, their contributions are honored through museums, monuments, and historical studies, ensuring their role in American history is never forgotten. Their story serves as a reminder that, even in the face of discrimination, perseverance and excellence can leave a lasting mark on the nation's history. Number 8. Juneteenth, the real Independence Day. On June 19, 1865, freedom finally reached the last remaining enslaved African Americans in the United States. Although President Abraham Lincoln had issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, declaring enslaved people in Confederate states free, many slaveholders in Texas ignored the order. It wasn't until Union General Gordon Granger and his troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, that the news was officially delivered. His announcement, known as General Order No. 3, made it clear that all enslaved people were free and that there would be an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. For the more than 250,000 enslaved people in Texas, Juneteenth became their true Independence Day. The first Juneteenth celebrations began in Texas in 1866, as newly freed African Americans gathered to commemorate their liberation with food, music, and prayer. Over the years, the holiday spread beyond Texas as black communities across the country recognized it as a day of reflection, joy, and resilience. Families held barbecues, parades, and festivals, honoring the struggles of their ancestors while celebrating black culture and achievements. Even as segregation and racism persisted, Juneteenth remained a symbol of perseverance, reminding future generations of the long fight for freedom and equality in America. For decades, Juneteenth was largely overlooked by mainstream history, but black activists and historians worked tirelessly to keep its significance alive. The push for national recognition gained momentum during the Civil Rights Movement and again in the 21st century, as more Americans acknowledged its importance. In 2021, after years of advocacy, Juneteenth was finally declared a federal holiday, ensuring that the true end of slavery would be formally recognized across the nation. Today, Juneteenth celebrations continue to grow, bringing together people of all backgrounds to honor African American resilience, culture, and contributions to society. It serves as a reminder that freedom was delayed for millions, and that the fight for equality is ongoing. More than just a holiday, Juneteenth is a call to remember history, celebrate progress, and continue the pursuit of justice for all. Number 9. African Americans and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a turning point in American history, made possible by the relentless activism of African Americans who fought against racial injustice for decades. The struggle for civil rights intensified in the 1950s and early 1960s, as leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X led movements to end segregation and discrimination. The Montgomery bus boycott, sparked by Parks's refusal to give up her seat in 1955, and the Freedom Rides of 1961 exposed the deep-seated racism in the South. Peaceful protests, sit-ins, and legal battles highlighted the daily injustices faced by Black Americans, pushing the federal government to take action. The March on Washington in 1963, where King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, was a defining moment that pressured lawmakers to address racial inequality. Despite fierce opposition from segregationists, the Civil Rights Act became law on July 2, 1964, signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. It banned discrimination in public places, ended segregation in schools and workplaces, and strengthened voting rights protections. African American activists had long fought for these changes, enduring threats, violence, and imprisonment to demand equal treatment under the law. Their courage forced the nation to confront its racist policies, making it impossible to ignore the need for sweeping reforms. The act also empowered the federal government to enforce desegregation, ensuring that states could no longer deny Black citizens their basic rights. While the Civil Rights Act was a major victory, the fight for equality was far from over. Many Southern states continued to suppress Black voters through intimidation and restrictive laws, leading to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Police brutality, economic disparities, and housing discrimination persisted, fueling ongoing protests and activism. Leaders like Malcolm X challenged the slow progress, advocating for self-defense and economic empowerment as essential components of true freedom. The struggle for civil rights extended beyond legal victories, requiring constant pressure and activism to dismantle systemic racism. The legacy of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 remains deeply significant, as it laid the foundation for future movements advocating for racial and social justice. African American leaders and activists changed the course of history, proving that collective action could overcome oppression. Their fight continues to inspire new generations who carry on the struggle for equality, ensuring that the promises of justice and freedom remain a reality for all Americans. Number 10. African Americans in space. In 1983, Guion Bluford made history as the first African American astronaut to travel to space, launching aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger on the STS-8 mission. A former U.S. Air Force officer and engineer, Bluford's achievement shattered racial barriers in a field historically dominated by white astronauts. His mission involved deploying a communications satellite and conducting scientific experiments, proving that black astronauts could play a crucial role in space exploration. His success opened doors for future generations of African Americans to pursue careers in aerospace and space travel, proving that talent and determination could break down the walls of exclusion. Nearly a decade later, in 1992, Mae Jemison followed in Bluford's footsteps and became the first black woman to travel to space. A physician and engineer, she served as a mission specialist aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour during the STS-47 mission. Jemison's presence in space was groundbreaking, showing young black girls that they too could dream of careers in STEM fields. Her work on the mission focused on experiments in life sciences, including bone cell research and the effects of weightlessness on human physiology. Her legacy extends far beyond her time in space, as she continues to push for greater diversity in science and technology. In 2020, Victor Glover made history as the first black astronaut to embark on a long-term mission aboard the International Space Station, ISS. As a member of the SpaceX Crew 1 mission, he spent over 160 days in space, conducting vital research that contributed to the future of space exploration. His mission was part of NASA's efforts to prepare for deep space travel, including planned missions to the Moon and Mars. His leadership and expertise paved the way for more inclusive opportunities in space travel. The contributions of Bluford, Jemison, and Glover represent significant milestones in space exploration, proving that African Americans have played a vital role in advancing human presence beyond Earth. Their achievements continue to inspire new generations to pursue careers in science, engineering, and space travel, reinforcing the importance of diversity in shaping the future of exploration. Number 11. The first African American elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. In 1870, Joseph Rainey of South Carolina made history as the first African American elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Born into slavery in 1832, Rainey's path to political leadership was one of perseverance and determination. His father, a barber, bought his family's freedom, allowing Joseph to receive an education and learn his father's trade. When the Civil War began, Rainey was forced to work for the Confederacy but later escaped to Bermuda, where he built a successful business. After the war, he returned to South Carolina, eager to help rebuild the South and advocate for newly freed African Americans. With the passage of the 15th Amendment granting black men the right to vote, Rainey seized the opportunity to enter politics. In 1870, Rainey won a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, becoming the first black American to serve in Congress. His election was a defining moment of Reconstruction, demonstrating the political progress African Americans were making after centuries of enslavement. As a congressman, Rainey focused on protecting civil rights, supporting legislation that defended black voters from intimidation and violence. He fought against the Ku Klux Klan, advocating for federal intervention to prevent racial terrorism in the South. Despite fierce resistance from white supremacists, Rainey remained steadfast in his mission to ensure equal rights for all citizens. During his time in Congress, Rainey championed education, economic development, and political participation for African Americans. He believed that education was key to uplifting black communities and worked to secure funding for schools. However, as Reconstruction weakened and Southern states enacted racist policies to suppress black political power, Rainey and other black lawmakers faced increasing challenges. After serving multiple terms, he lost his seat in 1879, but continued to work in public service. Joseph Rainey's contributions paved the way for future black politicians, proving that African Americans could lead and shape national policies. His legacy remains an inspiration, reminding the nation that progress is possible even in the face of oppression. His election to Congress marked a significant step toward racial equality, though the struggle for civil rights would continue for generations. Number 12. Morehouse and Spelman, prestigious HBCUs. Morehouse College and Spelman College are two of the most prestigious historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, shaping generations of African American leaders. Founded in Atlanta, Georgia, Morehouse in 1867 and Spelman in 1881, these institutions were created to provide higher education for black men and women at a time when opportunities were scarce. Morehouse, an all-male college, became known for fostering leadership and academic excellence, while Spelman, an all-female institution, empowered black women through education and social activism. Both schools have played a crucial role in advancing African American progress and success. Morehouse has produced influential figures like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose leadership in the civil rights movement changed history. Spelman alumna Stacey Abrams has become a national advocate for voting rights and political activism, showing the lasting impact of an HBCU education. These institutions encourage intellectual growth, leadership, and social responsibility, preparing students to make meaningful contributions to society. Beyond academics, Morehouse and Spelman promote culture, collaboration, and lifelong connections. Their alumni networks strengthen black communities through mentorship, business investments, and activism. The legacies of Morehouse and Spelman continue to grow, proving that HBCUs remain essential in developing future generations of leaders. Their graduates go on to shape history, carrying forward the values of education, activism, and community empowerment. As centers of black excellence, these institutions stand as symbols of resilience and achievement, proving that education remains one of the most powerful tools for progress. Thank you for tuning in to New Blacks Ghana. We'd love to hear from you, so drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts or any questions you have. We're here to help and connect with you. Stay tuned because we've got another exciting video coming your way soon. See you next time.